Well, welcome to Motorcycle Live 2024. My name's James and I'm the Museum Director here at the National Motorcycle Museum, and we're very proud to always put on the classic feature, or in this case this year, Heritage Corner. So we're very proud to put on what is essentially the classic feature at the show, and we've done that for many years with the organisers, and it's always a big show for us, as you can imagine. We're here in conjunction with our tool partners, Sealy Tools, as well, and we can have a look at their stand in a minute. But as regards our own stand this year, we've got a theme. We've got a great theme, and the theme is first and last. Now, we're able to do first and last because we've got all the inventory in the museum that allows us to do that, and there's probably really very few museums in the world that could do that with our collection of British motorcycles, because the National Motorcycle Museum is all British motorcycles. So for instance here we've got the very first Norton and then the last Norton from the original company. Now that's quite important to say, the original company, because obviously these days the companies have started up again, which is absolutely fantastic, but these are all machines from the original companies. And so in this case Norton, and we've got 5 different makes, so we've got a pair of each bike for 5 different makes: Norton, Triumph, BSA, Ariel and Royal Enfield. And in the background behind the bikes we've got video screens for each make, and they just tell a very quick history of the make and of the actual manufacturer. So little special points from that manufacturer's history, in terms of, you'll see pictures of the first factory, you'll see the significant bikes that they made through the ages, and then you'll also see maybe a picture of the factory when it closed, quite often in the 1960s or in the 1970s, with the collapse of the British motorcycle industry at that time. But it's not just about the bikes on the stand, it's also about, we do a live restoration feature, we do sit-on bikes, which is really popular. Sounds a bit of an odd thing to say, but you'll see there we've got a couple of people sitting on the bikes, and that's a really popular feature, especially with families and people that have come with the kids. Absolutely marvellous thing for people to be able to do. As I say, it sounds a bit of a silly thing, but you imagine some of these bikes, they are very old. That's not a problem. We've got a workshop, we've got 3 restorers. If they get a little bit marked or damaged, hey, you know, it's not the crown jewels. We can soon fix them, but we give the people the pleasure of sitting on the bikes and enjoying them. And I think that's makes quite a big important part of the show, although it doesn't sounds a little bit silly to say it here, but when people are leaving the show, they often say, oh, that was absolutely fantastic, and they've been able to record you know, the day with the kids and whatever, and with the family. It's like something that they can remember. We've also, as I say, we've got the live restoration feature, and that's always another really popular thing, because the public, visitors to the show, can get to talk to one of our restorers or 2 of our restorers who was ever on the workshop at the time. And today it's our restorer Wes Wall, and Wes is part of a family of restorers. His dad Colin, who's now in his 80s, he still works for the museum. He'll be here tomorrow. We've got Wes, as I say, and we've also got Chris, another one of the restorers, and he'll be here later on. So every day we've got 2 or 3 restorers doing the bike live, and people love to talk to those guys because they're real experts, obviously. We've also got our raffle bike, and you know, when people talk about raffles, they tend to think about, you know, win a bottle of wine at the local church fete, etc. But not our raffles. We do raffles every 6 months, summer and winter. This is our current winter raffle. This 1972 Norton Norville Commando production racer. Rare bike, very original, a genuine Norville production racer, not a copy. a bike that's worth, I don't know, I guess 12 or 15,000 pounds, and that's our current first prize. We always do our raffles in conjunction with our tool partner Sealy, who offer the second and third prizes as tools, and they're really good prizes, because second prize is £1,500 worth of Sealy tools, and fourth prize is a really nice stacking toolbox set. So really good prizes, and really helps the museum, as you can imagine, to fund the things like purchases of new inventory for if we need to buy a rare bike maybe that's coming up for sale, then we're able to buy it because of things like the raffle. So if anybody's coming along, please come and enter our raffle, because it does really help us. And so before we move on to some more features of the National Motorcycle Museum stand, Heritage Corner as it's called this year, we've now just popped over the aisle to our tool partner Sealy, and I'm very pleased to say that my friend Ben Sealy, the Chief Executive's here today working his own stand. Hey Ben.
Morning James, thank you very much. Yeah, we're really excited to be here. It's our second year on the trot. We'd never done it before last year, and a successful season for us last year, so back again. And we've teamed up with James and the team at the National Motorcycle Museum, and yeah, looking forward to seeing what the rest of the week sort of holds for us. So the footfall so far over the first sort of couple of days has been great. We've got a cracking team here, again in partnership with the National Motorcycle Museum, here to answer any questions, tools or equipment related. We'll give it a go at any other things as well, but yeah, tools and equipment's our specialty. So head on down and see us, and hope everyone has a good show.
Yeah, well, you can't miss us. We're together. We've both got big stands next to Ducati, so if you've found Ducati, you've found us. But we've also, to enhance Sealy, our partner stand, we've also got some of our own bikes. And here's one. We've got this lovely round tank 1925 BSA Model B on display on one of Sealy's excellent lifts. Now, Sealy sell a lot of lifts in the motorcycle market, probably most in the UK. They're really well made, very high quality. I've got one myself, I must say. And all in different sizes. And what they've got here at the show is a lot of the range, if you like, from the smaller ones up to the larger ones, which are actually can be battery powered or electrically powered. So, and they've also got, as you can see, the full range of tools for motorcyclists. Sealy have an absolutely huge range of tools, and obviously they can't display everything on the stand because it'd be the size of this hall, and I know because I've been to their fantastic factory in Bury St Edmunds. It's huge, and so there's no way that they could get everything on the stand, but I think you've got a fair selection, haven't you, Ben?
We have indeed, yeah. So I mean, the range is now 12,500. We generally grow circa 1,000 new lines every year. So we can't present all of that here, although everything is available, everything's on a show special as well. So if you've got an interest in tools or equipment, or you don't, but you might be, just head on down and we'll try and help out where we can.
Ben's just picked up on something I should have said. Because they've got such a huge range, they can order it for you here at the show, and then it'll be delivered direct to your door, so very convenient. So if there's anything that they haven't got here, it's not a problem. They can just put the order into the computer and it'll be with you in a few days. Another rare bike here on one of Sealy's lifts is this beautiful 1955 BSA flat tracker, genuine BSA factory flat tracker. Now, this has actually been on display in the museum, although it's not one of our bikes, it's another one of our partners' bikes. It's Yeoman's Motorcycles, who they're a great little shop because they source a lot of very rare parts going back to the sort of the pioneer and veteran era. So we do work quite closely with Sam at Yeoman's Motorcycles, and we were pleased to bring this across because it was on display at the museum, and we thought, well, that'll be interesting for people to see. This genuine BSA flat tracker. You'll notice that it's got no front brake, of course, like they didn't have. So we've skimmed past some of these makes that we were talking about, our first and last feature. Well, here we've got Triumph. We've covered Norton, and here we've got Triumph. We've got the first Triumph, 1902, 2.25 horsepower, and the last Triumph. And again, let's just remind ourselves that this is from the original factory when Meriden shut in the early 1980s, and so this TSS 750cc 8-valve, this was one of the last bikes that Triumph produced before the factory sadly shut in the early 1980s. But as I say, what a great thing to see all these makes back. Triumph, of course, been back bigger and better than ever for many years. And a lot of these makes, like Royal Enfield that we're coming on to now, of course, selling a lot of bikes again in the UK, manufactured in India, but great to see that name back and out there again. And we've got the first Royal Enfield, 1903 here, 277cc, more like a push bike really, as you can see. And then from the late 60s, the last bike that Royal Enfield in this country made, as opposed to India, the last bike that the Royal Enfield made in this country, an absolutely beautiful bike and one of my favourite bikes in the museum, the 1968 750cc Interceptor. One of my favourite bikes because of the styling. I think it's what a beautiful looking bike. They got the styling absolutely right with that small chrome peanut tank, and a real fantastic looking bike. I always think one of my favourite bikes of all time actually in terms of the look of it. Then we're moving over to our next pair. We've got Ariel, and again first and last 1904 Ariel. Now that really is an early one in terms of the fact that they didn't even have their own engine at that time back in 1904. This is fitted with a Minerva engine of 211cc. So back then, a lot of the manufacturers that became very famous, they were really putting engines in push bike frames, as you can see, if in simple terms. And so what happened with a lot of these manufacturers, they bought proprietary engines from all over the world, in fact, and all over Europe. The engines that they could just use themselves without having to go to the trouble and cost of developing their own engine in those very, very early days when it was, the motorcycles and cars, etc., were real curiosities. And so that was quite common. Ariel, mid-60s again, sadly closed. And the Ariel Leader there, the 1964 Ariel Leader, very innovative for its time in terms of its frame and forks, pressed steel, as you can see from the forks there. Little bit too advanced maybe. You imagine seeing that in the 1960s, really quite modern and advanced, space age almost, I suppose. Perhaps not the success that they could have been, and a little bit too advanced, and didn't save the company. BSA, well, here's an interesting thing, because again, this early BSA 1902 also uses a proprietary Minerva engine, and it wasn't till a little bit later that BSA started using their own engine. So here's the 1902 BSA with the 2.75 horsepower engine. Beautiful looking machine, but again, I'm sure you can see that it's a little bit like an engine slotted into a push bike frame, which essentially is what it was. Then moving on to the last, if you like, from BSA, from the original factory there at Small Heath. Very attractive machine, the BSA A70, the 750cc, very rare machine this, used for homologation purposes for the USA, for use in competition. Quite a rare machine, and really represents what the last of the BSA machines really looked like, because they were the oil in frame models, so they hadn't got a separate oil tank that you could see obviously on the side of the frame, nor did they carry the oil in the engine. They actually carried the oil in the frame, in the centre, just behind the carburetors there, you might be able to see. And so whilst BSA finally finished in 1973, this is indicative of one of the last models from that great name. Having said all this, of course, BSA is now back in a big way with the new Gold Star and a lot of new models that are going to be coming up over the next couple of years, and so that's really something to watch this space. And we were discussing earlier the sit-on bikes and how popular they were. Nice to have a military machine here, the BSA M20 from 1942, which people are welcome to sit on. Been very popular so far. Especially with the families. Nice and stable. You can see that it's got that big rear stand, so it's not going anywhere. It's not going to fall over. And also another bike that's attracted a lot of interest and a little bit confusing for people, because as we've said, we're a British only museum, and of course people are saying Indian, that's an American make. Well, yeah, of course it is. But what Indian that had really finished with a long time before this bike was made, the brand actually started fitting British engines in to bring the Indian name back, and this has got the Royal Enfield 700cc engine in, which was the forerunner to the Interceptor engine that we've seen earlier on as one of our pairs of first and last. So it's an American machine, yes, but it's a British machine. So that's it from me, James, the Museum Director of the National Motorcycle Museum here at Heritage Corner, our stand at Motorcycle Live 2024. Come and see us and our tool partner Sealy here in Hall 3A.